Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today is going to be a bit of a ramble, but it just feels weird for me to have, it feels weird for me to have a YouTube channel in general. I'm still getting used to that. But it also feels weird to have a channel where you guys are seeing me and where I'm getting to know some of you through your YouTube channels, but you still don't know that much about me. And specifically about what I study and my life as an academic, because I feel like that's such a huge part of my life. So today I thought I would tell you a little bit about what I researched and what my PhD is in, and kind of my brief background in academia. And then also I have a response to a comment on one of my previous videos, so I'll get to that in a minute. I'll try to go through this pretty quick. I know that it can be somewhat boring to people who aren't academics, but I know that some of my subscribers so far, my 8 subscribers, which blows my mind, because I haven't told anyone other than one of my friends and my mom. The 8 subscribers, you all are complete strangers. You are not my friends who are subscribing out of pity or support or anything like that, which is both amazing and crazy that you all have found my little section of YouTube and have clicked that subscribe button. If you are stumbling on this channel for the first time today and are not a subscriber, I would love it if you would subscribe. Feel free to check out some of my past videos to make that decision if you want to see more of the kind of videos that I'm doing. I will try to have a kind of equal mix of academic, personal life, school-related stuff, and the fun, beauty, fashion stuff. Although thankfully, because of my academic interest, the fashion kind of goes in both directions. So getting into that, what do I study? I study English rhetoric and composition. So I teach that. I also study that. When it comes to like what you can specialize in your PhD, I'm what we call a rhetorician. Which just means someone who studies rhetoric, big fancy word. So I look at what people say, how they say it, for what purpose, and the way that they say it. So for me, that's looking primarily at fashion, fashion and costume design. So that's kind of my area, is what I call fashion rhetoric, or rhetoric of costume design. So it's primarily what do the clothing say about people, or what messages do we say about ourselves, about our personality, about our identity through what we wear, which I find incredibly fascinating. So the way that I got here is a bit of a long ramble. I'll try to condense the story, but it's one that I do share with my students and with other younger students who are still in their undergrad, who are considering grad school. So my academic background is pretty varied. My undergraduate degree, my bachelor's degree, was in theater arts. At the time, I thought I was going to be an actor or a costume designer. And so costume and fashion has always been important to me. From there, thinking costume design, I would do an MFA in costume design. I lasted 1 semester and realized my heart just wasn't in it, or at least not that program. I'm still a little unsure if it was costume design itself, which is what I thought at the time, or that particular program. Now I kind of think it was that program. It just wasn't the right fit for me. The question of whether you should go to grad school or not is something I can certainly do another video on. I think I'd like to do a video on that because I get asked that question all the time. So that program didn't work out. I ended up transferring into a different master's program at the same university and completed an MA, or a Master of Arts, in media arts, so basically film and television studies. At the time, I thought that I would end up being a community college instructor, and that I would teach film classes, maybe some theater classes because of my undergraduate degree, and life would be grand. Well, I finished that degree in December of 2007, right as the economy was imploding all around me. Community colleges were laying off instructors. I did finally get an adjunct position. I taught theater for a couple years. I've never quite been able to leave theater and costuming behind me completely. So it kind of then continued to lead me forward along this crazy path that I've been on. Fast forward another couple years, I realized I was not going to get anywhere as an educator with only a master's degree. It really only qualified me for community college, and that was shifting to a majority part-time base of faculty. So if I wanted to be a full-time with benefits university or college level teacher, I really didn't care that much about community college versus university. I just wanted to teach college age students. I realized that I had to go back and get a terminal degree, which is either an MFA or a PhD. And since I really was nervous about doing an MFA in costume design, I had kind of left costuming behind me a bit at that point and was just more interested in academic studies. I ended up discovering the rhetoric program at my current university. I knew I wanted to study fashion in some way. And so I didn't know what department that would really be the right fit for. So I was looking at a bunch of different areas. Long story short, I ended up in a rhetoric program and thinking, how on earth is what I want to study rhetoric? But it turns out it is, because the great thing about rhetoric is it's very interdisciplinary. It doesn't cover everything, but it covers a wide range of things, and you can approach almost anything from a rhetorical perspective, which is really great. So that allowed me to get a grounding in basic rhetoric, basic composition, something that I could teach, something that would make me marketable, but I could still do the research that I really wanted to do. So my master's thesis ended up being a costume rhetoric project, and that was looking at Bond girls in the James Bond films. Yes, watching James Bond films counted as research. And I analyzed their costumes. So what did their costumes say about the characters, and how did the costumes affect the representation of their power and femininity, and to a certain extent agency within the films, and how that changed over the course of the film's franchise history. So I looked at Dr. No, which was the first Bond film, the first one by Eon Productions, and then Casino Royale, which was the first Bond novel, and then kind of the reboot of the new series, and the first one that Daniel Craig would star in. So that was a fun project, and that ended up getting published. A condensed version of it got published in a book that was released back in September on Bond girls. Finished the master's, and I'm now doing my PhD, and I'm in my third year, which is about halfway through. So the way my program works, my program is designed to be completed in 5 years, and my goal is to be done in 5 years. A lot of people tend to take 6 or 7. My funding is guaranteed for 5 years, so beyond that, yeah, that's where I want to be done in 5 years. So the first 2 years are coursework, so I've done that, I'm done with my coursework, and then in your third year you revise 2 of your portfolio papers, which are papers that are designed to be of a publishable quality. And that second paper is actually what has led me to start a YouTube channel, because the second paper is on YouTube, specifically beauty vloggers and beauty channels. So I'm working on that last paper. I'm also preparing for my comp exam. I have to know, I think my list is 60 sources long, 40 books and like 20 articles. So I have to know all of those sources. I'm looking at fashion theory, material culture, and public memory for my dissertation. I'm looking at fashion icons. Once I pass my comp exam and I successfully defend my prospectus, I will then be declared all but dissertation. My goal is to be ABD by the start of this fall semester, so by like August, very early September. So I'm going to be doing a lot of reading over the summer. So you'll get to go on that journey with me. Yay. So yeah, so that's kind of, I think I've covered it. That's roughly what I study in a nutshell. So I think it's a lot of fun. I enjoy it. I always get interested but odd looks when I tell people what I study, especially when they hear, oh yeah, I'm doing my PhD, I'm in an English department, but I study fashion. It always kind of makes people turn their heads a bit. But it's a great conversation starter. People are generally pretty interested. So that's why I'm so involved in the Phoenix Art Museum, or why I was so involved in the past, and why I still go to parties like the one that I posted in the video 2 videos before, last Tuesday, the Defining Moments opening, which, oh, still just so amazed by that. It's just such a fantastic, I can't wait to go again and see it again. I get so excited. So that leads me into the second part of this video, which is a response to a subscriber comment on that video. And I'll link that video in the information bar below, or the information box. So his comment was, I believe, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm trying to quote him accurately. I think he said something like, I don't know much about fashion, but it seems like women dressed cooler back in the older days. And it made me think, because you, sir, are not the first person who said that, and also I think you probably know more about fashion than you realize. Everyone knows more about fashion than they realize. That's probably a whole other video topic. But I've heard that comment before, and I think on the surface, yes, things were a lot more detailed. There were a lot more details. There were hats and gloves and cufflinks and lots of jewelry, and there were handbags and parasols and fans, and I'm getting super excited just thinking about it all. So yeah, there were details, and there are certainly elements, like I do partially wish that we could still dress that way to a certain extent. Like, I'm sitting here in a t-shirt and out of frame are my Target yoga pants. So I'm super casual today, and I like having that option. I don't think I would want to wear a corset every day. So I think we definitely tend to dress more casually. But what I appreciate about today, and I think, so going back to his comment about whether we dressed cooler back then or now, I think it depends on your definition of cool. And I feel like in years past, things look cool to us now because they look so different, but it was much more rigid. And much more structured in terms of what was appropriate and what wasn't. Women, especially of a certain class, of, you know, the upper class, they had to wear these specific outfits, and then they had to change outfits throughout the day. So like anyone who watches Downton Abbey, you've seen this, right? You know, women, you know, Lady Mary and Edith and Sybil, oh poor Sybil, they had to wear certain outfits each day, throughout the day, depending on what they were doing. What we wore was very prescribed. And if you were lower classes, it was definitely prescribed. You wore the same 1 or 2 dresses all the time. For men, it would have been the same 1 or 2 pantsuits all the time. You couldn't afford options, whereas now, you know, these days, thanks to inexpensive or slightly less expensive stores like H&M or Primark, God, I miss Primark, you have more options to wear certain styles, wear certain types of outfits, and just have a bit more freedom of expression. And I think that is something that I value now. So yes, I wish I could still wear, you know, some of the beautiful hats that we had back in the day, or I wish that I could get away with wearing, you know, a beautiful ball gown, or some of the great costume jewelry. There's certain accessories and stuff. That would be nice, but I also, I think we don't value when we think about the past the freedom that we have to wear what we want and to express our individual identities. No two people have to dress the same just because they're the same class level, or because of the class they're in and have that socioeconomic status, prescribe what you have to wear. So, did we dress cooler in the past? Yes and no. Certainly in some ways, looking back with a modern perspective, yeah, there's stuff that's just absolutely amazing, and there's a level of detail and craftsmanship that we don't see as much anymore. But we also have the freedom to wear what we want to wear. So yeah, thanks for bringing up that question, because it's a fun question to think about and to talk about, and I would love to hear you all's opinions in the comments, what you think about dressing now versus dressing in the past. There's definitely a difference, but I think at the end of the day I would still choose to live right now and just incorporate historic clothing elements in my current wardrobe than go back in the past and dress. So I appreciate the cool factor, and I like using that phrase. I like the cool factor of the past, but I like the freedom I have living as a woman in 2016. I would love to hear your thoughts on school, what you guys study if you're currently in school. I love hearing what other people study, and what you think about fashion and clothing, and what your kind of fashion identity is, or just any other thought you come up with. I'd love to hear your comments. I've been loving getting the comments on each video. It just completely makes my day. Like I said, I'm at 8 subscribers. We'll see if that number budges up by the time I upload this, but I would love to crack the double digits. So if 2 more people would like to subscribe to bring me up to 10 subscribers, that would be great. So yeah, I'm still super awkward at ending these, so I'm just going to try to say goodbye really quick, and I will see you all soon in my next video. So, goodbye!